I would like to call the Washington County Planning Board and Zoning Board of Adjustments to order. We will start with a roll call, please.
Philip Humbard. Here. Joe Kelsey.
Here.
Robert Dougherty.
Here.
Jay Piercy.
Here.
Neil Helm.
Okay, the next item is, I'll give you a minute to look at the minutes and entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Hear a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move to the agenda. Nathan, is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. We've changed up the order of all the projects on the agenda. All the projects are the same. Order has changed, and you should have the updated agendas in front of you. The change was to move one of our projects that we expect to take a little more time to the end of the agenda.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So be motion.
Okay. Motion, second? Been a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. We'll move to Brewer Minor Subdivision.
Brewer Minor Subdivision. This proposal is located southwest of West Fork off of Highway 170. It is located entirely within the unincorporated area of the county. The proposed minor subdivision location is shown here outlined in black. Currently, there aren't any structures on this property, as it is a heavily wooded area. This slide shows the parcel of 8.34 acres. The red arrow displays the path of Highway 170, and soil work has been provided. This slide displays the proposed tracts A and B of 4.17 and 4.17 acres, respectively. Again, the red arrow displays the path of Highway 170. I conducted a site visit on May 14, 2019. This photo was taken facing east at the bottom of the driveway onto the property. This photo allows you to see access to Highway 170 facing north. This photo allows you to see access to Highway 170 facing south. Staff recommends approval of the proposed Brewer Minor Subdivision with conditions. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for staff at this point? Okay, seeing none. Is there any, is a proponent here and would like to add anything, or if not, is there any individual in the public who would like to speak to this issue? Okay, seeing none, I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the Brewer Minor Subdivision with staff comments.
Second.
Been a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion passes. Okay, I guess we will move on to the EE Construction Services Minor Subdivision.
The proposed EE Construction Minor Subdivision is located within the northwest portion of the county. It is accessible from Arkansas West Highway 16. The proposed minor sub is outside of any city or planning area. Here is the area that the project is located in, and here is a closer view. The applicant, Eduardo Espejel, would like to take 2 existing parcels and turn them into a total of 4 parcels. And here's a close-up of the survey. The 2 parent parcels are approximately 5 acres each. The 4 parcels will be approximately 2.5 acres each. And here is what the proposed lots will look like. And if we zoom out a bit, you can see what it looks like amongst the other parcels, which are in the dark gray. On May 15th, staff conducted a site visit, and this is what the project parcel looks like from across the street. Here's the eastern portion, standing across the street on the northern side of Highway 16. Here's the middle portion, and here is east. On May 23rd, and this is what's directly across the street from one of the proposed driveways. And then if we just kind of look around, there we go. On May 23rd, staff mailed a total of 11 notifications to property owners within 300 feet of the project parcels, and we've only received 1 comment. This comment is in opposition of the project. The neighbor stated that they chose the location where they built their house because they preferred quiet country living, and they do not think that the 2.5 acre lots will work well for the area. Soil analysis was conducted on April 6th for each of the proposed lots. Each lot was found favorable for single-family residences. Each lot will need an individual on-site septic system permit at the time of construction if that's been approved by the Department of Health. And at this time, staff recommends approval of this project with the following conditions, and the conditions have not changed since the time of your update packet. Any questions?
Any questions for staff? Okay. Would the proponent like to add anything at this point? Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address us at this point? Yes, ma'am. Come forward and state your name, please.
I'm Amanda Vickers. I have some questions about my property. A piece of it will back up to this. I'm not sure why this RV park is going in. There is nothing out there.
Ma'am, it's the wrong project.
Oh, wrong project.
This isn't the RV park yet.
Okay, I am sorry. I'm sorry. The props look pretty much the same. Sorry.
No problem.
Is there anyone else here that, from the public, that would like to address us? Okay, seeing none, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the committee. I will recuse myself from this because our real estate company sold us originally, so I'll recuse myself. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the EE Construction Service minor subdivision as with, subject to staff comments.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to the next item, which is the conditional use part of our meeting, and it looks like it's CGC RV Park.
This project is located along the northern border of the county, just outside of the city of Springdale's planning area. The zoning for this area is agricultural single-family residential of 1 unit per acre. The request before you is for a commercial RV park, thus the request for conditional use permit approval by the board. Here it is. So here's the area that the project parcel is in, and here's a close-up. The overall acreage for the parcel is owned by Pete Brandenburg is roughly 11 acres. Approximately 8, give or take a little bit, of these acres will be split for the use of the CGC RV Park by the applicant, Hannah Chefke. The proposed split is sketched on the screen. represented by the black dotted line. The actual sale and split of the 8-ish acres is contingent upon approval of the CUP. Should the CUP be approved, then the applicant and the property owner will begin the proceedings to survey and the sale/purchase of the 8-ish acres. The applicant will also return at a later date for the large-scale development process through the county. The CGC RV park will consist of approximately 40 RV stalls, a possible small camping area, and possibly an RV storage area. This is a sketch of the possible site plan. The site plan will change once the applicant submits for a large scale. The applicant will build the RV stalls and the RV park itself in phases. The phasing is dependent upon the applicant's clientele and the ability to invest in future phases. The first and second phases will consist of 10 RV stalls each. The last phase will consist of 20 stalls. Again, these amounts and this design may change once the applicant submits for large scale. The location is approximately a mile away from the Springdale city limits. It's 2.2 miles away from Beaver Lake, and it is under a mile away from the J.B. Hunt Quarry. The applicant states that the location of the RV park is ideal for clientele who are seeking a nearby yet out-of-the-way spot to set up their RV or tent, or for the professionally contracted at the quarry for a few months. This is a view from the road. You can see a nearby house. The building on the right, and then a little bit beyond that is a house, and it looks like kind of a storage building, perhaps. In the far back and towards the front of the screen, there's a lot of natural vegetation. Here's another side of the property. Again, a lot of open space and vegetation. Here's along the street, the property line. So the nearest residence is 72 feet on the northwestern border, and on the other side, staff measured approximately 485 feet. I did not account for the property owner's house. The applicant does plan on placing landscaping trees and possibly shrubs, and would consider privacy fencing as a way to shield the RV park from the neighbors and to allow the clientele more privacy. The applicant is currently researching such trees, like pine trees, like the loblolly, to plant along the border of the closest neighbor first. Including the property owner, staff mailed a total of 7 notifications to adjoining property owners within 300 feet of the proposed project. To date, we've only received 1 comment in opposition of the project. The neighbors state that they moved to the country for peace and quiet. Having an RV park nearby would take that away from them. They also worry about the extra noise and traffic. They state that the crime rate would go up due to the coming and going of visitors. They also state that their property values would go down. And as parents, they're concerned about their 3 young children's safety. So here are their criteria for the allowance of conditional uses. Staff feels that items 1 through 3 have been met sufficiently through the administrative and technical review process. Most of the technical comments received stated that the owner/developer is responsible for any fees incurred in order to extend the utility line to service the property/project. The soil analysis for the septic is scheduled. The details are not available just yet. The final approval of the CUP is contingent upon receiving a favorable soil analysis. The actual permitting and designing of the septic system will also be addressed during the large-scale development process. The majority of the area is agricultural or single-family. However, less than a mile away is a rock quarry. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going over item 4 of the criteria for allowance of conditional uses. It states that the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area. Here is the proposed site plan again. An RV park by nature is not compatible with the area. However, with enough visual mitigation and the applicant being a good neighbor, staff feels that the RV park can be compatible. Multiple tree lines and possibly privacy fencing to be utilized to show clients from neighbors and vice versa. There are quiet hours, and eventually there will be management on site all the time. The applicant states that the contract terms for each RV stall are approximately 6 months. Extensions may be granted on an individual cases. For those who stay for the full months, they should get to know the neighbors and the area. And staff does not feel that the applicant would allow rowdy clientele to remain on the RV park grounds. Items 5 and 6 of the criteria are more subjective. Again, staff does not feel that the applicant will allow rowdy or unruly clientele to remain on the premises of the RV park. Staff feels that if the applicant enforces quiet hours, the RV park can be something that the neighbors may not notice a lot or barely complain about. In regards to the impairing of property values, this would take an actual appraiser and a possible real estate study with knowledge of RV parks in areas similar to the proposed location to show that the RV park would diminish the surrounding property values. Such data has not been provided by any surrounding neighbor. Item 7. The vast majority of persons whom own or travel in an RV also tend to tow a personal vehicle or possibly have travel trailers being towed by a personal vehicle. If they do not have vehicles, then they tend to have motorcycles or bicycles. Being that Northwest Arkansas has become a mecca for cyclists, staff thinks that the RV clientele might possibly have a bicycle and a personal vehicle. Staff feels that 40 additional vehicles on the county road will not be an impediment upon the flow of traffic. Staff does not foresee all 40 vehicles coming and going at the same time. Staff thinks that it will be a trickle of people coming and going from the RV park location. Staff does not foresee any traffic jams or excessive accidents occurring because of these 40 vehicles. At this time, staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of this project with the following conditions, and these conditions have changed slightly since the time of your report last week. All changes are in red and on the screen, and the only changes are from Ozark Electric. Any questions?
Technically gonna approve a CUP.
Yes, this is just for the zoning.
As far as a lot of the things that you read there that are possibly this, possibly that.
Those will be addressed in the large scale.
Large scale.
Mhm. Yes, because
Exactly how many we're gonna have, or if we're gonna.
exactly. I think it came down to finances. The applicant did not want to invest the thousands of dollars it would take to have a full, large scale drawn up if the CUP did not pass. So if the CUP passes, then they will invest in the engineers and the project managers to ensure that they have a proper large scale submittal.
Any other questions for staff at this point? Okay. Would the proponent like to add anything at this point? Okay. Is there anyone from the public here to address this issue? Okay, come forward and state your name, please, sir.
My name is James Hilton. My property is lined up right up against my fence line. That means extra lights. That's going to keep me up at night. It's going to put me on more guard if people's in there because of my kids and my animals. I've talked to people down the street, up and down, and nobody is for this. It's too much extra traffic on there. We've done worry about the dump trucks. It's always down through there. And it's just going to cause havoc, to be honest about it. It just don't need to be there. I've moved in the country and stayed in the country as much as I can to stay away from stuff like that. And I'm against it all completely. And like I said, they're trying to line them 40 right up down my fence line. And that don't go, because that's causing trouble in my book. And that's all I can say.
Your name and address?
My name is James Hilton. My address is 22541 East Monitor Road. It's Springdale, Arkansas, 72764.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to address?
Good evening. My name's Mark Gordon. I live directly across the street from where this is proposed to come up. Sounds like there's a lot of unknowns right now as far as what the size of this is going to be and how it's going to be developed. I'll share this with you. I moved into the area 3 years ago to get out of the city and to have a more peaceful setting to live in. I spent a lot of money, invested a lot of my life into the property that's there. For that purpose, my concerns are really around the property value and what that means. There was nothing anywhere that indicated that we needed to have an appraisal on whether or not there's going to be a property value change. We can have that done. But when I look at this, I think about that. I do think about the security of the home. Being directly across the street with a transient group that comes in and out, and is not a permanent resident or a neighbor. And I have cattle, I've got a family, and I've got dogs, and so I'm concerned about that. I look at the, again, it was zoned residential and agricultural when I came out there, and that's why I bought that for that purpose. It wasn't zoned for commercial. There is another RV park a few miles away, down closer to the lake, that's accessible for folks that need that for the purpose of that. And to the point that was just made here earlier, there's a lot of heavy truck traffic that comes through there. It's a 2-lane road, it's curvy. That road has already seen deterioration with potholes, and if you look at some of the crossways where the intersections are, it's getting pretty rough. Those concrete trucks that come out of those quarries, 75 plus a day, that travel back and forth on that small road. I don't know what that means when you start to see 40 RVs with traffic that comes through there. All I know is that's going to create an additional safety concern and potential exposure for those folks that live there and those folks that are driving on that road. You see bikes that travel up and down that road and enjoy that. And when you get that kind of traffic coming back and forth, it creates a danger. Looking at some of the other items too, we've got, I guess I'm trying to understand really the perspective of 8 acres right there. There's nothing around that. Again, it's neighbors. It's a family environment, although it is more rural. And it's one of the reasons it's the main reason that we moved out there for that purpose. And this would be very disappointing if this came forward and continued on. So I just ask that you consider that. I know there's other folks back here that want to speak on behalf of this, and I'll step away from it, but those are my thoughts. Thank you very much. My name is Mark Gordon, 22454 East Monitor Road. Again, it's directly across the street. The lane that you see on that map is going into my home. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Smith, and I live directly across the road from where the RV park is proposed. I, like everyone else, concerned about safety. I have 3 granddaughters, and I've just seen how some campgrounds turn into homeless people living and whatnot. And so my family owns 280 acres out there that borders most of the property. So I'm just asking that this not be approved, and that's all. Need my name? my address?
Yes, please.
Yes, it's 22382 East Monitor Road.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the public?
Hi, my name is Joan Schaefer, and we live just down the street. And I, too, and my family are asking that you do not approve this. We came from California. This was our dream home we bought to get away from the crowds, to be out, have peace and quiet. We love it there, and to bring all these lights and traffic in, it just goes from one thing to another. She talked about a campsite. She talked about tents. This isn't the place. 2 miles down the road is Hickory Creek. If they want to camp out, if they want to put the RVs, they're already set up down there. So we would ask you, please, do not approve this. This is our homes that we're talking about. We have kids. We have grandkids. I've got 5 that are there with us, and we just don't want all these transients coming in, because one thing leads to another, and everyone can promise you we're going to keep the upgrades, and they don't. We've seen that with the rock quarry. The roads out there are horrible. There's such big pit holes, the dirt and rocks and everything. They don't keep that clean. So these people can come in here and promise that they're going to have the maintenance, but we all know that just goes down the road. So we're asking you, please consider, if it were your backyard, the side of your house, would you want this? And we ask you, please do not approve this. My name's Joan Schaefer. I live at 22275 East Monitor Road, Springdale. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else from the public?
I'm Amanda Vickers, and the little end of the pie backs up to my 20 acres. It's the most beautiful part of the 20 acres. There's a natural spring back there. I'm not sure exactly why they're wanting to put this out there. Like everybody said, it's nice, it's peaceful. There's not very much around there except for the rock quarry, and it's our nest egg. It's you know, there's cows, there's goats, I'm just not sure exactly why they would want to put this out there. And it's going to devalue the property out there, I do believe, and the nature of the tents and things like that. I just think it's not a very good idea, and as a property owner, I do not approve. My name is Amanda Vickers. I live at 3341 Looper Road, that's Luper Road, in Lowell.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the staff or the committee for questions or comments or motions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll recuse from this one.
Okay, got one recusal.
Mr. Chairman, I concur with staff recommendations and recommend that we approve the CUP.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I think on this one, there's been a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call, please.
Philip Humbard,
No.
Joel Kelsey recused himself, Robert Dougherty,
Yes.
Jay Piercy,
Yes.
Neil Helm.
Yes.
3, 4, and 1 against.
Okay. So the motion passes then, correct? No. Yeah, we don't have enough, do we? Need 5, is that correct, for that? 4. We got 4 for and 1 against?
No, I recused.
So 3 for, that's what I thought. I thought you said 4 for. So 3 for, 1 against, so we have to have 4. Okay, so the motion fails. Okay, let's move on to the next item.
River's Edge RV Park and Stables conditional use permit request. This proposal is located east of Springdale off of Blue Springs Village Road, also known as Washington County 386. It is located entirely within the unincorporated area of the county. The proposed conditional use permit location is shown here outlined in black. At this time, there aren't any structures on the property. This slide shows the parcel of 50.68 acres shaded in red. The green arrow indicates the point of entry onto the property from Washington County 386. This slide shows the parcel of 50.68 acres shaded in red with the approximate boundaries of the CUP site shaded in blue. Again, the green arrow indicates the point of entry onto the property from Washington County 386. All road names referenced from here forward are those established at the time of prior platting of this property. Section 11-200 outlines the criteria allowance of conditional uses within the county's unincorporated areas. The first 3 criteria are objective and have been met. Those criteria are that a written application has been filed with the planning office and the appropriate fee has been paid, that the applicant has provided proof that each property owner, as set out in Section 11-204, has been notified by return receipt mail, that adequate utilities, roads, drainage, and other public services are available and adequate or will be made available and adequate if the use is granted. The next 4 criteria are subjective, and staff believes that these have been met. That the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area, yes, as the proposal is located in an area that is still very rural while still being urbanized enough to accommodate the need for utilities. That the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. And we've stated the applicant is seeking to cater to persons with RVs who have horses or other animals that require certain accommodations. Next, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the surrounding area for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the surrounding area. As you will see in subsequent slides, staff believes that the limited scope of the RV usage, combined with the maintenance of open pasture land for horses, as well as thick natural barriers between the proposal and nearby homes, satisfies this requirement. And finally, that the establishment of conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding area for its uses permitted in the zone. Staff believes that the same response used to satisfy criteria 4 is appropriate here as well, and that the proposal is located in an area that is still very rural while also being urbanized enough to accommodate these needs for utilities. I conducted a site visit on May 14th, 2019, as well as May 23rd, 2019. This photo is from the highest point on Skipper Rock Road facing west. Notice the dense tree line in the distance forming a thick natural barrier from the adjacent neighborhood. This slide displays a view of Highway 412 from Skipper Rock Road. As you can see, the land is open and rural. This photo shows the sight distance from the corner of Skipper Rock Road onto Washington County 386 facing south. In the distance, level with the tires of the vehicle in the photo, is Highway 412. This photo displays the sight distance from the corner of Skipper Rock Road onto Washington County 386 facing north. This photo displays the rural nature of the land. It was taken facing west from the cul-de-sac at the end of Lily Pad Place. This photo was taken at the highest point of Skipper Rock Road and faces north. Again, you will notice the openness of this property. And in this photo, you can see up close the dense tree line forming the western edge of the property. This photo displays the only neighbor with an open view of the proposal site. However, given the applicant has referenced maintaining the northern portion of the parcel as open pasture land, staff does not believe this neighbor would have any significant alteration to their current view. So at this time, staff recommends that the Planning Board and Zoning Board consider the support and opposition of the project in order to determine whether or not the project has fulfilled all CUP criteria as listed in Section 11-200.
Questions for staff? Would the proponent like to add anything at this point? Okay. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to address this issue? We've got one. We've got one coming.
Good evening. My name is Tina Lockwood. I live at 22657 Lakeview Road in War Eagle Cove. I live off the Knob Hill exit of 412, which is just east of this proposed site. I would like to address you here this evening regarding safety on our highway and the aspect of high-density population that would result from this project. First, safety. Over the past decades, I've seen firsthand the devastating impact of traffic on our 412 highway. I've seen the aftermaths of many accidents, T-bones and crashes that spin cars completely around, signs plowed down as a result of crashes, as well as cars and bodies that end up in the ditch. The Knob Hill intersection is a blind hill from the east. From Knob Hill westward, the hill declines until it gets to the bridge. Speeds can get upwards of 70 miles an hour or more. My concern is that a rig would be making a right-hand turn from the east into the RV park and would have to come to almost a complete stop on a 65-mile-an-hour highway to make the turn safely. If the rig wants to enter the RV park from the west, they would have to cross 2 lanes of oncoming traffic traveling 65 miles an hour. If they misjudge, which happens quite frequently at the Knob Hill intersection, they would jeopardize everyone on the highway right there. This would lead to last-minute calculations of oncoming traffic on avoiding a crash, probably crashing, slamming on brakes, or swerving, potentially ending up in a ditch on either side of the highway, and worst-case scenario, loss of life, including livestock, the horses. Hazards of a rig exiting this proposed development include navigating entering a highway, a high-speed downhill highway, possibly taking up both lanes in order to navigate a right-hand turn. If they are navigating a left-hand turn, they will have to cross into 3 to 4 lanes of traffic, potentially becoming stranded in the middle of the highway and sticking out to oncoming westward traffic. If a rig wants to enter from the west and misses the entrance to the proposed RV park, then they will end up at Knob Hill, a blind hill, and then they will have to manage a U-turn, trusting that the fulcrum of the rig will make the turn. This is not a crossing to be taken slowly or lightly. You will get hit because the westward traffic cannot fully see you until it gets to the top of the hill. So you have a 65-mile-an-hour vehicle or semi that will immediately come upon a rig making a U-turn that has no potential to get out of the way. Once again, the rig making a U-turn will take up the whole highway in order to complete the U-turn. Now imagine doing any of this in the stark of nighttime. These issues mentioned thus far are the concerns I have with regard to safety of lives on our highway. Now, with respect to high-density population, I understand there are 67 sites proposed at this RV park at the moment. 67 sites that you would be able to see immediately coming eastward as you enter the downhill to the bridge on 412, the 412 bridge. What an eyesore. This is an eyesore for us in our countryside that we chose to live there to get away from population density like that. Nob Hill has 384 households. Blue Springs Village has 205, and then the new church just east of the proposed RV park. Adding 67 RV sites is an 11.4% increase in availability of living quarters in this immediate area. That would mean 67 rigs entering and exiting on a continual basis. That would also mean 67 rigs that would need septic just outside our lake, which is our drinking water source. Are there completely adequate and safe perk parameters for septic on such a high-density project? My understanding is there was not adequate perk for the previous proposed development on this site. So what has changed to consider this build? 67 sites that would be so close to the lake, yet so far away to enjoy it without getting in a car and driving to a public access area. This will undoubtedly pique the interest to some on how to gain access from the RV park on foot, entering the adjacent Blue Springs Village residential area, trespassing through people's property to get to the lake, to get to the shore, to get to the water. Additionally, our community is serviced by a volunteer fire department. Adding 67 sites and RVs will put a strain on our resources and response times. I ask you not to approve this build, and please keep our highway beautiful and safe. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Is there anyone else from the public?
Good evening. My name is Michael Grigg. I own a half a dozen properties in Blue Springs Village. I have a property at the end of Nob Hill Loop, and I own a 17-acre farm 2.5 miles down the street from the proposed site. Traffic is dangerous there. I personally have a large truck with fifth wheel capabilities, and I do tow fifth wheels quite often. It is very dangerous to pull in and out of that intersection, whether it's Nob Hill Loop or whether it's Blue Springs Road. I personally have almost had accidents doing the same thing, so I can see a huge increase in accidents in this area. We just had an accident last week right here in this area, so it's already a problem to begin with. I have to entirely agree with what Tina just had to say. I couldn't have said it better myself. She actually did great research on what she just proposed to you guys as well. The septic is a big concern of mine because if there's any overflow, it's going to end up in our lake all around our house. You know, I live actually on the lake. I have lake access, and I don't want to go down to my boat dock and have to worry about the local sewage flowing into the lake. You know, that's just not a good thing. You know, a lot of septic, a lot of horses with their manure. That's just a lot going on in that small area there. I also have 140 foot of lakefront access. In that 140 foot, I currently have to have 4 no trespassing signs, and I still have to run people off who want to park at the end of the road and cross my property to gain lake access. And I can only see that this will increase drastically with 67 RVs showing up. It's just, I'm at the end of the road. People want to gain access to the lake. They don't care if they're trespassing or not, they'll just do it. It's a hassle for me and a liability for me. I don't want strangers on my property. The roads are already in horrible shape through there. When this actual development started, somewhere around 2008, the pavement was ripped up, became a dirt road, and about 3 years later it got repaved, and every single year we have 12-inch deep potholes show up right in the road along this property line. I have to disagree with several of the photos and comments that were posted on the screen a while ago. The level of the wheels is about 20 feet taller than 412 in one of the photos. It was not accurate. The tree line in the area between the houses at Blue Springs Village and the proposed site is not very thick, and it's not very lush. It's maybe one tree thick, which is not going to deter much at all. We don't want transients moving in and staying there full time. There's a lot going on in this area as it is with traffic and people living there. We don't need extra transients roaming our streets with kids playing. And without having lake access, people are going to constantly try to find that access. So they're going to be all around our properties. There's already a RV park 2.5 miles up the road. We don't need another RV park this close. My name is Michael Grigg. My address is 20987 North Lakeshore Drive. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had a point of clarification I'd like to make whenever the timing is right.
Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee and let Nathan address the issue.
We had yes, sir, thank you. We had an error in the recommendation on the slide shown here. Toward the end of the day, it was kind of a mad scramble to get everything put together and also to change the order of our items. And one of the issues or one of the mistakes that we made was showing a previous slide before we changed our recommendation to approval. And this slide shows that shows a withdrawal, or excuse me, a withholding of approval, whereas our approval remains the same as it was with the staff report. Recommend to approve. Thank you. The second piece that I would like to clarify was the photo that Mr. Grigg mentioned. It's just a photo, and Mr. Barry to my left here was just mentioning not the elevation was the same as the tires of the vehicle in the road, just pointing out that you could see the road in the location of the tires in the photo. Indeed, it is a higher elevation in the interior of the property as compared to Highway 412. And that's all. Thank you.
Questions, comments, motion?
On item E, that's showing staff recommendation, staff recommends tabling of this project. Is that not?
That's the next item, sir. This is the CUP, and the next item will be the large scale.
Okay.
Recommending approval of the conditional use permit.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions, comments, or motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the River's Edge RV Stable CUP with staff recommendations and the conditions listed.
There's been a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been a motion and second. Let's go ahead and do the roll call, I think.
Philip Humbard,
Yes.
Joel Kelsey,
Yes.
Robert Dowdy,
Yes.
Jay Piercy,
Yes.
Neil Helm.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We will move on to the land development hearing, which is the large-scale development for Rivers Ridge.
Rivers Edge RV Park and Stables preliminary large-scale development request. The proposal is located east of Springdale off of Blue Springs Village Road, also known as Washington County 386. It is located entirely within the unincorporated area of the county. The proposed preliminary large-scale development location is shown here outlined in black. And again, you can see the green arrow indicating the point of entry from Washington County 386 onto the parcel that is shaded in red. Again, we have the parcel shaded in red. The area to be developed is that shaded in blue, while the green arrow again shows the point of entry from Washington County 386. Staff recommendation is that the applicant did not provide timely enough resubmittal in order to allow for all necessary parties to review all documentation and provide conditions of approval, nor did they address all comments and concerns provided at the time of technical review. Staff recommends tabling of the proposed Rivers Edge RV Park and Stables preliminary large-scale development proposal, as the applicant has not satisfied the pre-LSD checklist of items necessary for approval with conditions. Are there any questions?
Any questions for staff at this point?
What items were not resubmitted or met?
So, we have issues pertaining to the drainage plans and the utilities and the fire marshal's review. I have several of those individuals here to speak if you would like.
Well, if we wait and table it, it'll be another 5 weeks before they come back, right?
That is correct.
Is there no way that they can work on these items and get it resolved before that?
We believe that that there are plumbing issues shown in the plans. There's a lack of stormwater calculations, and there are fire code issues as well. We believe that they have definitely attempted to get some of these items taken care of, but they haven't gotten the plans to us in a timely manner where we can get them over to our people to review and make sure everything looks good and is ready for approval. We've got our county contract engineer here to talk about his concerns specifically. Same with the fire marshal. Same with Nob Hill Fire Department. And maybe is Springdale Water here? Yeah.
No.
So those three. As far as working them out,
Do you feel like these are major in
I believe
scope?
that would be left up to the reviewers, the jurisdictional reviewers.
I think at this point, we could consider the table before we move on, or if you don't want to table it, then I assume we can move on.
Are the individuals that are here going to address the issues of what needs to be done in order for this to go forward?
I believe so, sir.
I'd like to hear them then.
Okay, let's hear from those individuals.
Who would you like to start with, sir?
Well, you said there was somebody here that can address the drainage issues, the utility, and the fire marshal.
Okay.
So,
I'm Zach Moore, the county contract engineer, the one reviewing the drainage design for this. So currently, I just have not seen detailed design of the detention pond or a drainage port that I could recommend for approval. I don't know that there would be any issues achieving that. I just have not seen that as of yet where I can give a recommendation for approval. So that's.
Yeah, that's
simple as
fine.
it. So,
Who else you want to hear from?
Well, I mean, if they're all three here, I want to know what their concern is.
It
in
doesn't
order
look
to
like,
make
doesn't look
sure to
like
see what
Springdale
gets-
Water's here.
Yeah, what gets done in order to, what needs to be done.
Tyler McCartney, I'm the fire marshal here for the county. I'm basically the same way. I have yet to see a set of plans that shows some of the stuff here. I know one of the major concerns that we had originally was hydrants within the area, and I ended up emailing the state fire marshal to get clarification on whether there needed to be hydrants in this area, and he said there did. I know the code says that there has to be a minimum of a 6-inch line running to those hydrants, whether it's private, whatever it might be. I know at one point, set of plans we had, it came through a 2-inch meter. I don't know if it's still coming through that or what. Again, they very well may have fixed it with the new plans. I do not know. So I know that's one of the things is fire flow. So.
Thank you.
Is that all?
From the design engineer, he's sitting there.
You want to hear from, Matt?
Whoever
Mr.
can
yeah,
give
go
us some
ahead and
input
come.
as to, what we're looking at.
I'm the culprit. I sat on the planning commission for 10 years, from 81 to 91, to get some regulations for, my name is Melvin Milholland Engineering, to get some regulations for this county that I'd have to pay taxes to do improvements to the county roads and drainage and all that. I'm not for that. I think that what we and my staff planning group did in that 10 years is seen today as something that's beneficial to this county and the taxpayers of this county. And I'm not, with my client here, I'm not trying to get him out of paying some money to do his share. But I do like clear directions when I go to a meeting, so I'll know what I'm supposed to do. And that's why I spent 10 years at nighttime on the back then, during the 80s. 3 atoms, they're not very big atoms. Rick Proverani, I talked to him a while ago. He's talking about, your comment says there's 2 cross connections, and I discussed it with him on the phone. And there's what I call bland flanges. He didn't know what that was, but we used those to block water lines years ago. He wanted to call them plugs, so I can call them plugs. I got a detailed one right here I've been using for 50, 60 years. The one he says it's not done, and I think we have a clear understanding. The other one I thought was drawn properly, and it is now, and it will be when I submit the plans to him and the health department. That's pretty common. It's not a big deal there. We got a 2-inch meter. But another issue on the drainage, I had run calculations on this 10, 12 acres off of about 50 some odd acres that goes into a 6-foot diameter RCP pipe under the highway, 412. It's been taking water off of that area for 10 years, evidently. And to my knowledge, no one got flooded. I had not designed a detention pond for this little 10, 12 acre area, which won't be very large, but there is sufficient room to do it, and it can be done. I guess one of the things that I talked to your engineer this afternoon, I thought we was going to do a preliminary engineering approval, kind of like you get a preliminary engineering report, subdivision. You get it approved, and you come back and do the design, and you get the people in charge to prove it. But evidently, the county doesn't do that. And I have never heard of that, and the county not doing that before. I thought the engineer of record, once he went through the preliminary stages, made sure his CUP is approved, layout's okay, and everything can be taken care of, will be taken care of, or it won't be approved for construction. That's simple. So that's where I'm coming from on that part about the calculations. And I told him the calculations and the design of the storm sewer for this little part will be taken care of prior to construction. And I think, I didn't understand it, I think he said something about he's conditioned on that happening, that he's not against the project. Is that what you said?
Yeah, ultimately, I think, yeah, you can make it work.
Yeah.
There won't be any issues. I just want to see it before.
No,
I
so.
haven't seen it that works yet.
Yeah. So I have no, I mean, I would request that you take that into consideration, and we're not trying to get around anything. The hard part was that we had a meeting before we had tech plat meeting, and some folks were there, and I thought I understood what we had to do. But at tech plat meeting, I got a letter, comments from, no disrespect to the fire marshal, he wasn't there. But one of the comments was he wanted, inside this area, on the 10 acre, or the 40-something acres, which was gonna be a subdivision for 10 years back, there was 3 or 4 hydrants. And they never was accepted by Mr. Poverani, according to him, into the Springdale system or the White River water system at all. So they're still owned by the person that owns the land. My client bought it, knowing they were there, but had not made his mind up what to do with them. But I do know in rural water systems, you do not design fire hydrants to fight fires. And this is in a rural area. So City of Springdale does not feel like they ought to have to fight fires out there. Plus, the 2-inch meter that's been approved by the city and installed for this system and will not take but about 160 to 200 gallon a minute. It will not take the 1,000 gallon a minute that's requested by the fire marshal. So I can't make that happen. I can't make Springdale put in a bigger meter, whatever. And it's in the rural area, so I'm sure they possibly wouldn't do it anyway. The other thing, one of the things that the fire marshal wanted was he wanted fire flows on these. And I can't make Springdale run water through an unapproved line, through a 2-inch meter to give fire flows. If I misunderstood that, I need to be corrected. But you can't make people run potable water through a meter that's not large enough to get the fire flows that you want for fire protection on a private fire hydrants. And so I'm sitting here between a rock and a hard spot trying to figure out after all these years how to produce something somebody requests, which I don't mind working to get it, but it's not there. So what I thought all along, and have heard through the years, that 26, 27-foot wide driveways for 75,000-pound trucks in the rural can haul water in and put out fires, and that's what I was thinking when I got this job, and I still think that, okay? This is not in the city limits. This is in the county. Even in the city, there's places that they, in commercial areas, they just ask for access around behind commercial buildings, 26 feet, rather than putting a hydrant there, right, drive a truck around. But anyway, that's a problem. 2 other things they asked for was a building detail for a restroom and a building for the office, which my client has not provided me one. I asked him, he said I hadn't got them. I just had this idea, I want to do this, if it's practical and possible, and I want to do it. We want them to see where we want to put them and everything. So we did that, and Fire Marshal asked for parking spaces next to the bathhouse, so we put that on there. Other things that he asked for, like cross driving a truck between streets, that's been on there. For putting parking spaces by the bathhouse, we've done that. The things that he's requested, but the things that I can't do, if I'd have come back with a set of plans, I couldn't give them the results that somebody wanted. But my plans are complete. They got it, as if this afternoon I went in and emailed them some. It's not totally complete, but it's complete enough to, they can see it. But we tried to do everything we could, and we intend to do hydraulic study, just like the county engineer wants, and he'll get everything he needs, and he can approve it, disapprove it, whatever he wants to. I personally don't see you holding it up for 5 weeks to do that. And I make the request, appreciate the idea that somebody thought of that. As far as the other things, Everything else is taken care of as far as I know, except I cannot get fire. I'll give the plans. You got the plans in your computer right now. But I cannot produce fire flows on private hydrants from public water in the rural area. It is not practical. It's not possible. And so I asked you to consider that for my client's benefit. He's trying to do the best he can, make a real nice addition to the county, right on the side of a major highway. There's a lot of traffic coming into it, could come into it. He's had the idea of a horse and could be put in each one of the spaces. He's got the extra pasture out there, 30, 40 acres to ride them on and grade them if he wanted to. It's a nice addition to the county. It has been sitting there for 10 years as a subdivision that never did complete. And he'd like to complete a nice RV park. And as far as the building plans, he can submit those anytime that fire marshal wants to see them.
Can you address the sewer septic field?
Sewer to septic. Yeah, my client decided to have, we looked at different directions. Honeywagon, Dr. Springdale about taking it and so forth. And we ended up saying, we got a lot of land here. And they're definitely not going to put that many RV spaces. So he had a DR licensed person with the health department to check the soil, and it checked out good. So they designed on another block, north and west of that, where we're going to put the RV park, the septic system laid out, and we shot it in. We didn't design it, but we shot it in. We drew it up, and actually it's shown on one of our plans. It has been submitted to the health department, not the engineering, but the other side that approves septic systems. A man by the name of Sam took care of that. He's approved that. So it's approved and it's ready to be constructed. And even inside the RV park as it lays, that was all part of it too. Septic tanks and pump lines and force mains is all in the plans that we have. And they've approved that. It's all private. It's his responsibility to maintain it. The water would be also private with one master meter, and each RV site will have, we got a detail, a typical, what size they are, where the water line to come under it and stub up with a faucet's hydrant, where the sewer will stub up, where the electrical, in fact, Ozark Electric gave us a little map and sketch where they wanted their transformers and so forth. That's on my plans. They want an easement, of course, where it goes, and they put the green line. When we got that shown, it'll be written up too. So it's anything else, we're glad to answer questions. I don't see it as a big deal to wait forever to do. I mean, we're almost there.
Nathan, can we approve this subject to all those conditions being met first? Is that, am I being clear there?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe we can.
With the exception of flowing in fire hydrants, I can't do that.
As far as the fire code is concerned, that entity operates whether you approve this or not. You can't go outside of the fire code. I mean, that's something that, it's like saying, well, we'll approve this as long as you comply with state law. So I think that probably is a non-issue on approval. It's probably the other two issues that they would be looking at, that this board really, that if you approved it, you could approve it without those conditions. They wouldn't have to do a drainage, retention, or detention pond. I still think they're going to have to comply with Springdale water, because that's where they're getting their water, but the detention pond. So if you wanted to approve this with those conditions met, you certainly could.
If I may, you've done a great job. Thank you. My name is Ray Dotson. This is my son-in-law back here. I'm pretty proud of him. He got me a new grandson here not too long ago, so you got to be pretty proud of him. Couple issues. I bought this, Mike and I bought this subdivision out there, and we're trying to make silk out of a sow's ear. It's got all the headaches that came with the old project. If it was just a piece of ground, it would have probably went a lot better, but once, there's fire hydrants there, there's streets there, there's drainage there, all of a sudden it comes to a different light. The Springdale Water Department gave me these flows. There is 2 fire hydrants on my property that the city of Springdale owns today. And one's at the west corner of my property, and further west on the entrance that goes to the Blue Springs. That fire hydrant right there is on my property. So I do have 2 fire hydrants that's on my property. I got a letter from Rick that says, and I've gave him the easement to put the 12-inch water line all the way, and I gave them the easement all the way up to the tower there at Nob Hill. They're, on their new phase, they're putting a 12-inch water line all the way up to the tower. So at that point, water issue down there is going to be 0. These 2 flows here, one hydrant flows 1,400 and 1,481 gallons per minute. The other hydrant flows 1,123 gallons per minute. So
The existing hydrants.
the existing hydrants there, not my private hydrants. You got to keep in mind, everything inside that subdivision, or this project, inside the old subdivision is a private entity. So we do have water capacity if the fire trucks need water. I think if you ask Mr. Gary Hull back here, he don't fight fires with fire hydrants. He fights fires with tankers. I met with him last week, and he said he could have 80,000 gallons of water sitting on my property in a few minutes. And he can correct me if I misspoke on that. But I think in the beginning, the county already has approved the drainage that was on this whole 47 acres. Because if not, these guys wouldn't be able to go out there and put all this infrastructure in. So somewhere the county says, okay, the drainage is right. I mean, there's a whole set of plans there that somebody designed and built, because the property is built. So our little 12 acres that we're doing there is way, way minimal than what the 100 houses that was going to be built there. So we're just asking to move this forward, put subject to whatever. I know we're not going to be able to meet the fire marshal's what he wants, but at the end of the day, rural water departments, I was on the city council when that water department was taken into the municipal league of the city of Springdale. Rural water is not designed to fight fires. It was designed to have water to homes. The rural tankers is what fights fires. Now, they're welcome to come down with the city water. They got an agreement. I've got an agreement with the Springdale fire department right now. I got their time scheduled. If I have a fire at my place, they can be there in 12, 13 minutes to back up Nob Hill Fire Department. We have a agreement that cities will back up cities. So the fire issue, I think, has been blown way out of proportion. The fire code says we got to build permanent structures, and they're trying to put me into a trailer house park is where they're getting that fire code from. Well, guys, if we stick with the trailer house deal, we don't want to do that, because if someday Ray Dotson and Mike Henson's not going to own that property, if it's approved for trailer houses, that might be what you get. I don't want that. You guys don't want that. I sure don't want it. So we're trying to make a real good RV park out there. That piece of property is set there for 10 years, and the county's made about $50 a year off property taxes. And we're just asking you to look at this. We think it's going to be great for the county. I'm going to have full-time staff that lives there for security. It's not going to be that, well, it's a trailer park and nobody's going to be there. I'm going to have somebody living there on that property 24/7. So, there was some issues brought up about traffic and stuff, and it's not going to be good for the neighborhood. We're going to be good neighbors. I mean, most of you guys know me. We're gonna be good neighbors. We build good quality stuff. I can show you photos of my RV park that I got in Fort Worth, Texas, right in the middle of the city. And we do a top-notch operation. We just need for the county to say, okay, we'll approve this subject to whatever you guys want us to do. You know, I got $500,000 sitting in a hole out there. I gotta get done. Hindsight's 20/20. My money is making money on people with horses. RV parks, you make $50 a night. I get people traveling through, well, the horse trailer's got 4 horses on there. I can charge them $40 a head and put them in a pen, and I can make $160. That's where the money's at. The next morning, they get up and they leave. Now, I understand I can go ahead and do my stalls and the amenities, you know, that applies with the county. The county, I understand that follows in the guidelines of the county. But we want to do something here that's going to be great for the county. We want to bring people in, snowbirds that's going to stay here, that's going to spend money in Fayetteville and Springdale and for county tax. That's what we want to do. We want to bring people here that's going to spend money, and it's going to be a good tax base for you all. And it's 67 lots. It's not like it's, Walmart's getting ready to build their building north up there in Bentonville. They got 35 construction workers that's coming in here. They'll be here probably for 6 months to a year. That's the people we want. We want those people to come here. They're going to spend money in our towns. And I just ask you, Mel's done all he can do. He's gave a drainage for it. You know, we're just a small business guy. We're just trying to make a living out there, and we're trying to make something good for the city. And I just ask you for your help. Work with us, and these guys have done pretty good. They've worked with us. They've got hung up on a few, issues on some stuff with the fire, but ask the fire marshal or the Nob Hill Fire Department, ask him if I'm not telling you correctly on fighting fires with the tanker truck. So, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, do you all want to move forward, or?
My comment, Mr. Chairman, is that we're not trying to be inhibitors, but we want to be enablers, but I don't think we're at the point of being able to make decisions and to vote on this recommendation. It's been over 10 years since I've done an LSD, and all this has to be wrapped up and signed off before, or did 10 years ago, and I don't think we're quite ready.
This is a preliminary, and we will get a final coming to us when that happens.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we will address all those issues at the final. We will address all those issues at the final, Neil, but this will be the preliminary. We can approve it with subject to those recommendations to be done by final.
Mr. Chairman, also, when my construction plans are completed down to the T, before it goes to the health department, Mr. Rick Proverani of Springdale, that supplies the water, will have to agree to them and sign off. So you got that back, you got that protection there. And also on the sanitary sewer, which is not really going into public, but it's already been approved, and it'll have to be constructed properly, state standards, and it'll also be an as-built turned into the state. So that's going to be a check also. As far as the private roads, that's going to be Mr. Dotson's place to maintain that. And as far as the parking and the frost hazards, whatever it is may be out there, there's ways it's going to be checked before we start construction. And the biggest thing is Mr. Proverani and the health department is going to make sure that part is right on that. And also your engineer will also have to tell me mine's right too.
think at this point, we could move forward, and then, we've heard from the proponent, so we could hear from the public, and then make our decision. I think if that's what you want to do. Yes. I just want to make sure there's nobody else that wants to. I want to make sure there's no one else from the public that wants to comment on this at this point. Okay. Seeing none from the public, I'll bring it back to the committee for your choice. Pleasure, whatever.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for the River's Edge RV Park and Stables, subject to staff comments and completing the items necessary from other entities.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes subject to those recommendations and all the other requirements.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we'll move on to other business.
I just want to let the planning board members know that we're diligently reaching out to regional planning and some of our surrounding cities as far as our minor subdivision and our CUP change recommendations to make to our county engineer, chief staff, and county judge, and we should be able to get those changes to you fairly soon. It's a slow process, and there's a whole lot of code to read from a lot of different jurisdictions, but just wanted to update you on that, and we're getting to the point where we're about ready to start trading ideas back and forth. So our next meeting will be July 11th, followed by August 22nd being the next after that. That's it for other business. Thank you.
Any old business?
No, sir.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye.